Are we are live? Yes,
Yarg. Yay, we
we
are
are.
live. Look at that.
Look at that, Mr. Gadget Guy
Hey,
himself in the
what's
flesh.
up?
He made it live. We're doing it live, man. We're
We're
doing it
doing it
live.
live. I'm
Oh
gonna see. I'm
man.
gonna. I just realized like I'm sitting on the side of this hotel room where there's like an Ethernet plug. So I'm trying on
What?
one of my other phones to see if I can get the Ethernet working, but I don't know that that's it doesn't seem to be functional. So that might have just been a wasted 30 seconds there.
You built up our hopes for no reason, man. I'm sad. No, most of those may end up requiring you to do a web-based login. So even if it doesn't register, you have to it gives you a dummy IP, and then you have to log into the website, and it
That's a
redirects
good
you.
point. Let me see if I'll keep messing with it because I know
Yeah.
right now I'm on the magic of a 5 megabit peak upload speed, which means I'm probably sustaining like 3 at
Well,
best. So
keep
I'm
in
sure I'm
mind,
going to get a little crunchy throughout
it,
this broadcast.
you're probably also sharing this with everybody on your floor. So you got to be, yeah. So when we say 5 megabits up, yeah, it's five plus divided by how many you get.
Well,
But
and it's definitely the fun of where we're traveling through. I was like, well, hey, worst case scenario, maybe I could just run this off of like T-Mobile. I see the little 5G icon; it's going to be fine.
yes,
And
yes,
apparently,
exactly.
T-Mobile is sustaining about a point 0.1 megabit connection right where we're at. So that's like way worse.
So it's a weird thing with T-Mobile's service. I think they display 5G even when you're in 4G or if you're not in it. I think it's certain, or it may just be network congestion. It could be just the availability of the network in the area that you're in. But still, point one, that is
Pretty lame.
pretty like DSL. No, not even DSL. That's like no.
DSL can at least get you like 15.
I was gonna say DSL will get you past. No, actually, again, depending if you have ADSL or but the fact is, we have you. The show is back. Everybody in this chat, of course, is very happy. Everybody was very excited that
Hey.
Greg was asking earlier. He said, "Hey, are you guys going to be coming back?" And I'm like, "Yep, we're coming back tonight for 1 hour and 1 hour only." I was kidding. We're going to try to keep it to an hour,
Yeah.
mostly timing and so on. And glad to see you, man. Glad your voice is
Good to
back.
see you too, man.
The live stream on Monday was pretty decent, man. I liked
Hey,
it.
hang in
It was
there.
pretty
Yeah.
good. The OnePlus didn't crash. I gave him kudos
You know,
right
I
there.
I learned a
Still
lot,
approval.
So I've been like refining my mobile production rig since doing CES with an LG V30. And
Yes, I remember. Yeah. We walked
it
around.
like
I remember.
every year I try like another experiment. This road trip was supposed to be a bigger deal than what it turned out to be. So the road trip was definitely a failure. Part of the failure was biological.
Ah,
Um,
well,
my
yeah.
voice totally crapping out at me. But the other part of the failure was trying to produce high quality content and then being saddled with some of the worst upload connectivity. I mean, we're road tripping through the Southwest, Arizona and New Mexico,
Hmm.
and it's exceedingly rare that we've been able to find pockets of fast upload speeds. Like at my parents' place, they can get 400 megabit downloads. Comcast does not disclose what the upload speeds are, and near as we can tell, the only thing they offer in their neighborhood is 5 up. You can
Wow.
get you can get up to 800 down,
We'll
and
get
then
we'll
they
give you the
just don't
world to
ever tell you what the
download.
upload is.
Yeah, but sending things through our system, no, my friend. That's through turtle speed.
Right? You don't get to
Um,
participate, but you can consume all you want.
Uh, which is typical to most service providers, but 5 megabits is ridiculously. I mean, I'm not saying it's bad. I'm saying it's bad by the standards that they're giving you such a high download to make it sound like they're
Yeah.
giving you the best service. But in
Oh, for
reality,
sure.
if you're trying to stream, you're trying to do gaming or anything that requires you to upload, like I say, what you were doing, uploading and
Yeah.
connecting to the restream. Not, I mean, so I'll say this: it was pretty decent, at least the way it was on Monday. It didn't seem like it was having too many hiccups. It was a few freeze frames every once in a while, but the audio was consistent. I think that's what was
It,
best.
it it did better than I was expecting. So that one was on 5G. So that one,
Oh, yeah.
T-Mobile,
I remember you were on T-Mobile.
I was getting peak around 10, and then it would crater bad. So I mean, again, there were definitely a number of like little dropouts and little stutters and stuff like that.
Yep. Yep.
But yeah, that one was over 5G because Comcast couldn't hang for 720p video upstream. It was ridiculous.
It is weird that in 2021, in the US, we still have internet
In
connectivity.
current year.
In current year, it's like crazy. Crazy that I mean, so the thing I always loved about when we got a chance to go to Europe is that I would buy a SIM card from the UK, and that SIM card gets me 4G LTE across Europe. Like I'd go to Barcelona, I'll go to Germany. That same SIM
Yeah.
card is working, and it's the same bucket of data points. So to me, I just feel like it's weird that we all say like 5G and LTE and all that, but then you get out of LA, you get out of the metropolitan major area where the high density. Obviously, they're focusing 90% of their work to give you the data. And T-Mobile 5G is, at the end of the day, it's a problem because we do, as a country, it spans quite a bit, and there is a lot of areas where if you want to do cross country, let's say you want to go to New Mexico. I mean, Arizona is not far from us here in LA. I mean, it's about 6 hours or so, and it shouldn't be that bad.
And I'm sure if I were in like the middle of Phoenix, it would be different. But we're off I-40.
Exactly.
We're exactly. And again, if we were downtown Albuquerque, but my parents live like pretty close to the county line, Bernalillo County line. And it's not rural, but they can get 800 meg downloads. But it's far enough out that apparently there's just no infrastructure to support uploading. It's kind of curious, as we were traveling through, that definitely seemed to be the thing that was holding me back more than anything else. And it's a bummer because I had packed a bunch of extra gear to try and do little reviews on, but I was struggling to get 1080p videos up, let alone the 4K Patreon videos.
I remember you were mentioning that on Monday, that in the meantime, during this trip, I guess you would just focus on the 1080 versions, and not because you're right, that would just literally end up being you sitting there for hours, try to uploading it at a slow speed. But
I did get one 4K video up and it failed 3 times. It took from the time I started trying to upload it to when it was finally finished up on YouTube, not processed, but just up on Google servers, was almost 30 hours.
Wow, man.
It was a very long time. To David's point, because Comcast has data caps, because it failed so many times, I think I ate like 40 or 50 gig of my parents' data cap, because YouTube also can't properly resume an upload if it works hard. So it would just keep re-uploading. Were you uploading it
on the PC or are you uploading on the mobile?
I eventually gave up and uploaded it on my parents' laptop, but I really did try to complete the entire thing only on mobile. I couldn't get the 4K video.
I haven't tried in the past. So I haven't tried a mobile upload for some time, but I thought I remembered that YouTube mobile does resume. Like if you lose.
See, here's the problem. If you use YouTube as the mobile app, your video goes through another layer of compression.
Yes, it has to compress first.
They squeeze the video first, even on 1080p. So the video I put up actually looks like garbage compared to what the real 1080p video looks like. Okay. And I was trying to get the 4K up, so I went through the browser. And that just wasn't having it. So the only way that you can kind of get around it is if you go into browser, you go to studio.youtube, you go into desktop mode. So it looks more like not a mobile browser. And then you upload from there. That's the dance you got to do. Yeah. And I've been doing that dance since Pocket now, trying to get stuff like uploaded, and especially like the Newegg vlogs that I was producing back in the day. The tech is working phenomenally well, though. I gotta say, like, I shot a video on the V50. I shot 2 videos on the V60, and I did a live stream from the OnePlus 9 Pro.
Yeah.
And so everything succeeded. I can't count on the OnePlus 9 Pro to do long talking videos from the rear cameras, because I have no idea when the phone thermal throttles and I lose part of the clip. If you're just running your A-roll back to back to back to back, the V60 is the obvious choice. The V60 came in like a champ. I had no dropped videos, no dropped frames, 4K 60 frame per second video. I got around the weird audio.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say I saw it for $3.99 on Amazon. It's steel
I,
if you say if I'm
mean,
excuse myself.
I'm serious. There's every expectation that LG software support is probably already petering out on their
Oh,
phones.
yeah, I'm
But
pretty.
this is kind of like where we were with the Razer phone. The hardware is so good. And
It's
in
all.
its current form, they finally fixed the fingerprint scanner bug, the CPU.
Hmm.
It's funny, like Samsung, OnePlus, Xiaomi, they're all throttling their current phones. LG had a bug that would peg your CPU at 100%. So
Yes,
no matter what you were doing,
you were
your
eating up.
CPU was just maxed out.
Like, why not? You got a Ferrari,
Sure,
drive it like a Ferrari.
you,
Stay on it.
you get all the power you pay for.
Um, I noticed that a few people were in the T-Mobile or on T-Mobile service and so on. And I think I just want to be clear, we were not necessarily harping on T-Mobile per se directly. Obviously, in the area that one is in, it just
Yeah,
doesn't have good coverage. It just happens to have. I mean, there are
and
very big stretches of areas that
this
go
is
through.
absolutely
Yeah,
true of every carrier. No
yeah,
one carrier has perfect coverage across everywhere, and
absolutely.
there are always dropouts in pockets. And where I live, T-Mobile is significantly preferable to any other.
Oh, okay. I was going to
Um,
say because I think the new lab has better signal. I was going to say that
yeah,
much. Yeah, yeah,
much better signal.
much better signal. So with that being part of what we wanted to talk about today, during this podcast at least, is your mobile studio, your workhorse, your road
Yeah.
work kind of things. So connectivity obviously is a big issue, but any issues, any problems, any concerns with editing video? I mean, I saw this the clip that you not the clip, the image you posted out of your timeline for the video for the the NXT Vision, the glasses that
Yeah.
you put out. So that actually looked pretty sweet. So you're using a dual case with the pen, and is that your setup for mobile editing?
So the Nextwear, yeah,
Yeah,
that
next one.
video. I did shoot a couple little B-roll snippets on the
Mhm.
OnePlus 9, but the main A-roll was shot on the V60. Now I've had to kind of break one of my rules where I'm using the Rode Wireless Go
Yeah.
as my production mics, and I still can't get around the headphone jack. Noise reduction on the
Hmm.
V60 is still awful. So I actually shot the that video using Power Director. No, I shot the video using Filmic,
Hmm.
so I could use the USB input from
Oh,
the
just to get the
Rode
audio. So
just to get
from
the audio.
you wouldn't have wanted just to record the audio on the road and then just
See,
mix the
here's the
audio later.
problem. Power Director currently doesn't have a good enough interface to sync audio. You can only edit clips down to, I think, a tenth of a second.
Hmm.
So you can't even really do sort of proper frame markings. So you've got to bake the audio into the video file.
Makes sense. No,
And
no.
I can't do that. I mean, it would have been way better, but here's the other problem with mobile is there's no way to get the audio off of the road without a PC.
Oh crap! Yeah. You're right. You're right. Even though you may have the audio, you can't get
I
to it
can't get to it. Yeah.
without having. Yeah, you're right. There's no mobile app. There's no way to sync it.
So I mean, I thought worst case, like I could have used my mom's old beat up MacBook. I probably could have
Yeah,
ganked it that way, but
yeah,
there's
yeah,
no way
yeah.
to sync it, and that's one of the things we're majorly missing on mobile editing is
Audio
I
sync.
want
Yeah.
a plugin like Resolve has where
Mhm.
you can swap out. It'll sync up the audio for you. We desperately need that
I learned that
with
when
these
the
video editing apps.
you can sync up clips before you even bring them into your timeline by
Oh
just
yeah,
highlighting two clips in the bin in your media bin and syncing them. I was like, what
it's
the
real
hell?
nice.
Like that is
It's
a
real nice.
feature. Yeah, I'm for everybody's reference. I'm based on a very heavy recommendation from Juan. I did my first video today officially. Like shot the video, produced it, edited, and then rendered it and uploaded it straight from DaVinci Studio 17. So very pleased, although not as fast as my normal editing process. I was
You'll
very
get
happy with
there.
the it's just crazy that I can render. It's not just the rendering, but just the editing, the style. There are some actual nice shortcuts in DaVinci that I think even Premiere can learn a few tricks from.
Oh,
Um,
totally.
but so yeah, short been working that, so I'm glad. But we don't have any mobile options, and for some reason, actually, Adobe Rush for some reason lately has been giving me issues with some devices where it says it's incompatible. So
Yeah.
they're losing some compatibility, or I don't know if it's certification or something for some mobile devices. So it depends. For mobile solution right now, I think Power Director is pretty much, I feel like the best solution that we get.
It's kind of the best all around. So I still feel like some of your editing can be a little bit faster. Some of your keyframing
Hmm.
and your audio can be faster in KineMaster.
Hmm.
Um, the render speed, the render engine is still faster in KineMaster unless you're using an LG. I don't know what LG did for their software optimization, but
Hmm.
like a V60 editing in Power Director just screams. Like it's faster than any other Snapdragon 888 phone you can get.
Way to go for
And run through.
whitelisting. Way to go for whitelisting a device. Let's just say this.
But I mean, like even on a 765, the LG Wing
Hmm.
is is neck and neck with a Galaxy S21 with the enhanced mode disabled. So
I actually had to turn off my my enhanced mode today, or last couple of days after the last update from Samsung. So thank you, Samsung.
woot.
Yeah,
So
no,
so
battery
Power
doesn't last a day
Director.
anymore now. Sorry.
Well, and again, I'm a little concerned that we're going to see that with the OnePlus 9, with all the press that OnePlus got about CPU throttling. If they kick that stuff back on, I just want control over it. Anyway,
Yeah. Go ahead.
Power
Sorry.
Director, the workflow has gotten better. It's gotten smoother. The interface is more responsive. Their last update fixed one of the gremlins that I had with video rendering, where it would
Hmm.
drop a lot of frames if you were doing. So I do a trick in Power Director. The main timeline is
Hmm.
4K. If you do
Yep.
anything in a layer, it has to convert it to 1080p. And that really sucks because you're sitting there and you're waiting for your 4K B-roll clip to get transcoded into 1080p. And then it kind of reduces the quality. It doesn't really work as a proxy. I
Hmm.
wish it would just work as a proxy. So your render actually kind of goes a little low res whenever you do B-roll that way.
Hmm.
Power Director had a problem where I would insert clips into my main timeline for my B-roll and then drop my audio under that clip. So even though I'm not on video, I can move the audio of me talking into that secondary position in a separate
Hmm.
track.
Yep.
The last generation of Power Director, every time I would make one of those transitions, you would see these frames like stutter in. And it made a lot of those videos so much more difficult to finish off because I'd render it, drop frames. I'd render it, drop frames in a different place. I'd render it. This one was okay. Okay, we can upload it. All of that's been cleaned out. All of it's been scrubbed. And
Good.
then the most recent audio patch also
Hmm.
included much better tools for noise reduction.
Oh, good.
So I was capturing audio from a body mic. It
Hmm.
was pretty close to me, but there was still some environmental noise, and I was able to walk back just a little. And it was pretty. I thought it was a pretty good balance. Like you can still hear like the birds chirping, and there's like some desert wind and stuff like that. But it was pulling up my voice a little bit higher. Power Director has really cleaned up. There are still a few things from LumaFusion that I'd like to see, but as the general all-rounder package, if you can go with a slightly slower render, you get much better tools for audio. You get much better tools for image stabilization. A
Hmm.
lot of my B-roll was just handheld. So
Yeah,
even
I know.
with camera stabilization, I'd run just a little on the video stabilization plugin, and it got me pretty close on a lot of my shots to looking just tripod setups. So
Good.
it
Good.
was, I mean, the tech totally played out. The OnePlus 9 did surprisingly well for the live stream.
Yeah.
So I was going to give it a shot.
Even with
It
the
was
front-facing
around,
camera.
yeah, and using the selfie camera, and I'm using it again now here too. This is the OnePlus 9 that I'm streaming on this on. I was really expecting an hour into my Monday morning show that I'd get a thermal warning or something, and
Or
it hung in there for the entire show. It was on 5G. It was using the selfie camera. The screen was super bright, so I could see
Mhm.
what was on the screen and I could see the chat. And I didn't get any warnings there. So whenever we thermal throttle on a OnePlus 9, the rear cameras seem to run the phone a lot harder. The
For
front
some reason,
camera did great.
yeah. Well, I think it's because you have to remember the front camera max is 1080, right? We're not even pushing 4K. So at the maximum
For sure.
resolution it's able to shoot
But
is
I also mean
1080.
having the significantly larger camera sensor is probably also driving whatever sort of DSP or ISP hardware completely different
Wait,
fashion. You've
no,
got
no.
pixel binning. You've got a completely different signal processing chain going through the SoC. I mean, everything about the phone just has to go up another tier.
Exactly, exactly. But I'm glad. I mean, like I said, the performance was so nice that it's nice. It's a good solution for on the go in a clutch. You need to get something done. You can definitely run it and not have to worry about
Hmm.
it. Your audio interfaces were running pretty good with the Bluetooth headset and everything. Like, I mean, so the some of the challenges that we had when we were trying to put together the Xperia Pro video, remember back in the day,
Hmm.
yeah, none of those were occurring. So those are things that I felt like were definitely good
Yeah.
improvements. I'm noticing Jeff was very happy that they fixed some of that stuff there. Jeff El Jefe Reviews is in the chat with us. Aditya is with us as well, kicking it up. And of course, with the hashtagging, hashtag definitely, yeah, that one right there. Some sponsored Black Magic design guy. Yeah, it's one of those weird. The conversation that came about Black, I mean, with DaVinci Resolve for many years, I've had people recommending me to try it, but again, Premiere has been with all of the quirks that Premiere had was working for me. I still got the
Hmm.
benefit. But this recent update or performance hit that just seems to be not on their radar for some reason, um, is something that has just bothered me enough that when I did try it and I saw like, oh my god, what the heck I've been doing, I was like, okay, I get it. I see. I understand. In Juan we trust. Ordered my copy and we got it installed.
Well,
Uh,
I'm happy. I'm happy to hear that it is working. Not only working out for you, like you're starting to get the hang of it, but that it is utilizing your GPU well. Because like, how awful would it be if Resolve was tanking GPUs? What was that? Amazon Studios? Is it New World or something like that?
I
It's
want.
burning 3090s.
I don't know. Oh wait.
Yeah, there's a
There was an
game.
article.
There's a
Yeah,
game
yeah,
beta
yeah.
out right now that
That,
apparently they've just got like an uncapped frame rate,
oh,
and the graphics card won't recognize when it needs to throttle back. So the combination of the two is just destroying
that's
three
only
thousand dollar
3090.
GPU.
So yeah, and the 3080 Ti is a hair short of a 3090. It's smaller and it doesn't have the same thermal, so it would be even worse.
Yep.
Worse situation. But DaVinci definitely drives it the way it should be. Rendering, just even scrubbing through the timeline, full replay, even with when I'm doing editing and cutting, is just like I said. It's more about understanding, remembering the shortcuts are a little bit different. So
Hmm.
I've been using Premiere for years, so my mind is literally like it's a program. Like my hand doesn't know what it's doing, and I find myself doing things, and I'm like, oh, undo, do this now. Um, so that was the video I did this morning with the Panasonic G2, the Toughbook G2, the update to. I want to say
Nice.
update the last year's. The last time we looked at was a different Toughbook, was an Android one that I think you and I looked at,
Hmm.
and then this one is Windows, but they included everything that you needed, which I was really happy. They gave me so many accessories, and I connected it to my gaming monitor. So it connected like 144, 10, yeah, QHD 144 hertz monitor supported right out of the dock. A
Nice.
whole bunch of things, and very very nice. I mean, Panasonic, just as you know, they rock it. So that was my thing, and I figured why not? Let's edit
I
that
was hoping to
video.
spend a little time with it. It would have been rad to get that for I mean, some of our family is like
Mhm.
rural New Mexico, and we spent a couple days out there, and it would have been great to shoot B-roll like way out in high desert, high
Mhm.
mountain desert, um, with this rugged PC and like trying to use it out there. It would have been really fun,
Would have been, yeah. But you're gonna just have to take another trip once you're able to get your hands on one, get on your
right?
hands on
Got
it.
to take this show on the road,
Absolutely, dude. You know what? We need to do some. I mean, even if we don't do it like an official like show kind of thing, but for sure, maybe we'll do a live stream one day like at the park. Maybe go do it at
we
the
got to,
ballpark again.
yeah. Oh,
So
for sure.
the let's just say this: what you went through, although successes and issues and concerns and kind of going on, it's a great learning lesson for us, at least here when we decide to do kind of like if we want to do one of those things. So that
I
is
gotta
nice.
say, I mean, again, ultimately, like what worked tremendously well
Hmm.
worked tremendously well. I mean,
Yeah.
like the phones didn't let me down, and anything 855, Snapdragon 855 on up.
Hmm.
The stickiest one was the 888 powered phone, my OnePlus 9 Pro.
Yeah.
If you're on a Galaxy S10, a
Hmm.
G8, a V50, you actually have this monster powerful production device that is almost completely untapped. The amount of CPU and compute power that we're paying for on these new devices is not being challenged unless you go out of your way to try and challenge it. And so I didn't get as much done as I wanted to because of other issues. Like I said, my laryngitis, and then also my upload capacity. But in 1 week, I got 2 videos out from my channel, a live stream, and I also cut a video for reviews.org.
Oh,
all
nice.
on the road. And so I managed to keep up with a pretty decent, not my heaviest, but a reasonable production week. And keeping one of my clients fed with a video that I didn't think I was going to be able to get done, all mobile, literally all mobile. I did not have a laptop to fall back on. I was trapeze without a net. It was great. And so again, it further encouraged, like, if you want to take a podcast on the go, legit figure out your mics, and then don't pack all this extra gear. You genuinely don't need it. You want to take a live stream out on the go, figure out your data.
Oh, I was going to say
failed on that side,
and coverage where you are, especially if you're not in a metropolitan. I think most metropolitan areas would be definitely covered, at least, because that's typically the most dense. But if you are going to be out, or I would recommend you go into a Starbucks. It's like somewhere where there's some type of connection that is a little bit more than.
Absolutely, and genuinely, I think the only thing holding people back from maybe even superseding what I did, I mean, taking it to another level still, is just familiarity. If you're familiar with editing on a laptop or editing on a desktop, it's going to feel really foreign. But like I was even kind of mixing it up a little with Ian from Anantech during my live stream, because he was like, well, you're not really saving time because you're faster this and you're faster that. And you're like, no, because I actually know how to use Power Director. So I know what I'm doing. I'm editing directly from the camera. I mean, as soon as I finish a clip, I'm dropping it into a timeline. Well, but you only need to transfer your footage. Are you moving your footage around? You don't understand. I don't move any footage. The footage is on the thing. I shot the footage from the device that's going to edit it. There's zero time lost.
As soon as you stop recording, that clip is available for you to import directly into it. It is an amazing time saver to be able to do that type of, because 90% of the problem whenever we're editing the video, if we realize we missed something, it's the having to go back to reset up, turn on the setup, turn everything back on, especially if you already shut down and collapse things around, and having to reshoot that clip. So those are like 90% of my oops, I forgot, or if you did the same thing I did when I was doing that microphone, the vocal lark microphone thing, I shot the whole video calling the noise and reduction noise cancellation. I didn't realize I said the word noise cancellation the whole video till I was done editing the video. And then I looked and I was like, okay. And then I was looking at the box, like, it says noise reduction. I'm like, where did I get noise cancellation? So I seriously, I shot the whole video. It does a decent job on reducing the ambient noise around it. So I assumed it was just it wasn't a very effective noise cancellation, but it was definitely better than not having it on.
Yeah.
And then I seriously had to reshoot every single clip because I made that big of a mistake. That I cannot undo that. So that video on Tuesday came out really late because of that. It was a day of just debacle. Or it was like I think it was like Friday last week. It was just a messed up day. So.
And for David and Aditya in the chat, like my entire relationship with Dr. Ian is kind of built on a healthy drunken debate history. Like literally the first conversation we got into, I was like 4 drinks into an evening late at night at a Huawei event. And I was probably the sloppiest I've ever been. And I was trying to tell him about 4K displays on phones and you should just do 4K. And so like literally our entire relationship is us being playfully contentious with each other. He's one of my favorite people on the planet.
Absolutely. Michael Peppertech is in there as well. As you just mentioned, David. And of course, we have a whole bunch of people hanging out with us, but I realized that you mentioned earlier when we were setting up the show, you wanted to talk a little bit about the Steam Deck.
Yeah.
That came out about a couple weeks ago. No, last week, right? I think
Yeah.
the official
The
thing,
pre-order. I
the
mean, like it was
pre-order.
announced, it completely blindsided me. But not just like I wanted to talk about it. I wanted to talk to you about
So
it. I guess
yeah,
I was very curious. Like, we all had kind of our reactions. It was a really fresh kind of like,
let me see. Can
it
we
was
show
kind of
it?
a
So
surprise to me that it was not only being announced, but that pre-orders were going to be so close to the announcement. I was just curious, like you play a little bit more console gaming than I
I'm
do. What are your thoughts on this? This hardware looks like it's a perfect kind of
it's a
Venn diagram overlap of what you like about gaming hardware.
so I was a little bit skeptic. I'll say this. Initially, I was very excited with the form factor and what they're offering. The part that kind of got me a little bit concerned is at its base model, 64
Yeah,
gigs is the entry level, right? So that's what
not acceptable.
and to me, I felt like that was like, in what universe does that? I mean, I have
Completely
quite a few
agree.
games on my Steam library, and this sounds like maybe some of my games won't even. There are a few that will not install. Like if I
For
want to,
sure.
I would not even like. I don't think Flight Simulator would work on this, and that is
Well,
just
I
not
mean,
even a thing.
are you playing through any COD right now? COD on 64 gigs?
I that is one update, man. Oh no, Call of Duty. Every time I log in, man, it
That's
is
like the update to the
crazy.
menu
Yeah,
system.
I was gonna say, and then so I'll say this. Look, I think the approach is definitely very. I like the design. The design definitely looks
Hmm.
very crisp, very clean. I like
Agreed.
that cross, the controls, the triggers at the bottom. I mean, we are looking at it right there. There's a little bit more on the triggers that you get on the display. Let me just make it a little bigger. The display is very good quality. You're getting joystick controls on both the your buttons on the right, touchpad. I think primarily what I'm seeing, and I don't know if you can see this, but the now the expected availability is Q2 of 2022. So you could definitely see there's a
Yeah.
big demand. The first two were made available, and then I think if I'm not mistaken, oh no, they did make it available. So now everything is Q2. um, but the surprise that I saw, not just because of the fact that it was a smaller amount of storage, a 64, but it was also eMMC, which I was kind of surprised
Yeah.
that it wouldn't have been just NVMe across the board. Not that I didn't think it would be that much more to go over. I don't think they're making these for a profit. I really don't think this is the hardware that they're just
I
basically
no,
making.
I was talking about this a little on my Monday morning show, but I completely agree with what you just said. I kind of feel like this is Steam's play to start off with a reference model for
Mhm.
what portable PC gaming like this with a Steam library could resemble.
Which is
And I'll be shocked if in 2022 we don't see an onslaught of copycats.
Oh,
Yeah,
absolutely, and they're already so in theory, if you think about it, I mean, if you have GeForce Now, you could technically run this on like a tablet to a certain extent, and still,
for sure.
as long as the internet connection is strong. This is obviously doing a lot more because you're using the internal storage, you're running the game on the hardware, you're not cloud running it. Um,
Yeah.
but so with that being said, with the fact that the entry level, I felt like, so for me, let's just say this: if I was to reserve one, I would definitely go for the 256.
Mandatory you start with the 256
Yeah,
if you're really taking this seriously.
if and if you have any kind of library on Steam, if you've never bought a game on Steam, you're getting in fresh.
I
Maybe
mean, like, if you wanted a really expensive portable way to play Overcooked and Dead Cells, and you
uh,
didn't want to play Dead Cells from your phone,
or Rocket
then
League,
that's
if
the
you want
only
to play
thing.
Rocket League
Right.
at its best resolution. It's just that this, like I said, this is my thing. It's like in the design stages, as team was putting it together, and they're like, okay, we're going to put things. What are the options that we're going to offer? I feel like it's an easy. I feel like it pretty much they're trying to get everybody to go for the mid tier.
Oh
Although I
yeah.
feel like the entry level, and I know some people were mentioning. I think Trisha mentioned it on her live stream.
Hmm.
That that you could potentially use external storage. Keep in mind the external or the expandable storage is SD. SD can never be as fast as internal. So it's a very catch kind of like, if you may have the storage, but you won't necessarily have the loading speeds. I mean, if you thought
Yeah.
eMMC was a concern, SD is even worse. Um,
So I'll be very surprised if we don't get 6 months into this and someone doesn't figure out a way to crack one of these open and
oh
swap out
man,
the SSD. I'll be
this begs to
very
be.
surprised.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I unless, so here's the thing, unless they decide to go with soldered on storage. If they do that, like a mobile device, like a smartphone, when they solder on the
Yeah,
memory, that would be my only. This would be like, oh my god, you should, because this begs to be modular. This begs to be like,
modded. Yeah,
yeah,
big
no,
time.
absolutely. Like the Toughbook G2 that I had today, the video that we put out, dude, you could pop over, take the 512 internal SSD, the NVMe drive, and put in a 1 terabyte in like 2 seconds. There's no reason they couldn't have done it
Did you
modular.
gank it and then send it back to Panasonic? Like, I don't know what happened. It just didn't
Honestly,
have an
it
SSD in there.
it doesn't work. Yeah, no. I was actually, like I said, very very surprised with the amount of accessories, because the other ones that we've had in the past, they typically will send us just the unit itself.
Yeah,
This time, I my contact, I said, hey, by the way, do you have any accessories that maybe you can send? I would love to check them out. And I think they just basically said he wants accessories. They like bucket. It's like I got everything.
that's rad.
It is very fun. But so yes, I considered. I logged in. I almost clicked reserve to put my, I think, was it $50 down or something like that
It
to
was
reserve my
five.
unit.
So here's where I got frustrated is my Steam account I set up like basically when Steam started.
Okay.
And I really do. I am very happy to see that Steam tried
Hmm.
to prevent scalpers from ganking these. But when their servers were melting, like right when
I
the pre-orders went live, I
it was
couldn't
all
get
over
in
Twitter.
line.
Yeah, yeah.
So I
I
got in line the day after, which means I probably won't get mine in the first batch in 2021. But I did put in my $5.
Oh,
Uh,
$5. Yeah, yeah. I don't know why I said
the
50.
five
I
dollar
thought yeah,
pre-order
I thought it was, yeah.
for the top of the line one.
Yeah. No, I mean, look, don't get me wrong. I think it's a great it's a great I like the functions that they're doing. I like the fact that you can dock it and you can basically play games as if you're playing them on a PC.
Hmm.
There's a whole bunch of there. Obviously, there's a slew of accessories, which I really hope that they build up that ecosystem.
Yeah.
Anything that gets released, anything that makes it into the market, people need to understand that you can't sell your device on its own and expect it to survive or thrive on its own. You need an ecosystem around it. And Valve, I mean, sorry, so Steam for me is by far, I feel like, one of the more successful app stores online to be able to purchase games and install them, because they work across multiple systems, on Linux, on Windows,
Hmm.
So to me, those are things that work perfect, and especially on little Windows PCs like
Oh yeah.
the Azul Tech PCs that we got. It's so much easier to run things. And I love using the NVIDIA GeForce, where I'm able to run games on a mobile device, but I'm having the CPU and GPU power being processed on my desktop. So there's a
For
whole
sure.
bunch of options. This excites me. I like the fact that AMD is involved as well. So we're looking at definitely very cutting edge type of tech in here. Um, so
Well, and not just cutting edge hardware. I mean, what Dave Burns was talking about was
oh
also this
yeah,
being like the sort of the proof of consumer concept
yep.
for of streamlined Linux distro in Proton, and very little operating system overhead, really maximizing the guts of this in the same way that we expect from consoles.
Mhm.
Just not having to run a full computer to experience your gaming.
Yeah, no
And
weather app running in the background trying to update itself or doing calendar and all of that extra stuff for no
which
reason.
which again, I mean, like I think my most consistent eternal library of games right now is on Steam. I'm
Same
still
here.
cranky that I have PS3 games that I can't play unless I plug in a PS3. I've got games from when I originally started my Steam account that I can still install and play on my PCs. So that just gives it that one step more legitimacy than some of the
Mhm.
other concepts we've seen, because we've seen a bunch of these little mini Windows PCs that have game controllers,
I
right?
was going to say, yeah, yeah, absolutely. This is not the, sorry, I take that back. This is first of its kind in this format that is compatible with Steam, but I'm saying we've seen other mini PCs in that same exact format. It's not, uh, what I feel like is Steam maybe improved it heavily to be more specific, that it's not just running Windows. It's not just going to be on top of an existing Windows system that's already been hacked to work on smaller
Yes,
hardware.
that is exactly what I'm anxious to see. Is
Yeah.
that this I think actually moves the concept forward, not through hardware.
Yeah.
And again, it's through an established ecosystem where we
Mhm.
already have our game libraries, and really trying to maximize the performance of this kind of hardware.
Yeah.
But again, I'm ridiculously anxiously excited. I hope I'm not too far back in the queue.
I'm pretty
for
sure
my
you're way
pre-order.
ahead of anybody looking to try to sign up now, which is again Q2 of 2022 could potentially
Yeah.
be somewhere in the middle of summer of next year.
I was just mad because like I was there. Like the
I know, no,
second the pre-order went live, I hit refresh. I had my stuff ready to go, and then it was like, nope, your account's too new. And I was like, that cannot be true.
It's one of those
My account cannot be true.
if and when things can go wrong, that exactly this is what happens. It's one of those things you have to kind of just go with. But what I do know that at least it doesn't mention anything as if the actual dock comes with it, or does it?
I don't think it does.
Yeah,
no, the dock is going to be separate. I'm pretty sure that's going to be a separate purchase. I also wanted to. I saw a few people like Gabaletta was making that joke for me. But one of the other reasons why I wanted to go to the highest end model was to get the fancy glass. I want the fancy glass on the screen.
That's usually how you want to do it, man. You want to get it done.
I was like, I wasn't even as concerned about the extra storage. I wanted the fancy glass.
See, that's where you go there. But I mean, it's so you think about it from 64 to 256, it's a massive jump. It's about 130 bucks, and then from 256 to 512 it's basically another 120. Like it's actually
it is not priced to what those components would cost.
Like I said, that's why when I look at them, I all I see is this is purely to get the market started. This is purely to prove that this could be working, that this will work, and to get the support. And I think this begging us for basically next year's Steam 2 or Steam Deck 2, whatever they end up calling it. We'll end up seeing how that goes. But I'm excited. I can't wait for you to get yours, because once you get it, I'll be able to come over and play with it.
We're gonna tear into this thing. No, I mean I'm serious. Like I genuinely want to get this for me. I skipped out on Switch. I kept putting off buying a Switch, and honestly, Switch OLED didn't do it for me. I was hoping for that rumored Switch Pro, and this is feeling.
This feels like a Pro. Yeah.
Yes, and it feels like a safer purchase because Steam has already proven to keep my game purchases generationally consistent.
Yep.
Whereas every other console, most of the time you've got some kind of backwards compatibility, but Nintendo's thing is like making me rebuy the games that I've been rebuying since I had an original Nintendo, and I'm getting a little tired of that.
The whole bait, and it's not a bait and switch, but essentially is like every time they upgrade the system, they change the cartridges.
Get it? And bait and switch.
DK cracking jokes and Juan serving it back.
I love it.
All Thursday evenings. I'm like I said, I'm excited. I see Andrew Wallace is in the chat as well. If you're interested in seeing how the experience is going to be Steam Deck compared to using it, by comparing it to basically how it works if you were remoting into a PC, like using GeForce Now across the network as opposed to having.
Well, let me tell you, after driving through Vanderwagen, New Mexico, I need those games to process locally. I can't play those games.
You'll be that one frame at one. You'll be playing it at 1 frame per second. It's like
I felt terrible. There was one time it wasn't on this trip, but it was before. I was just trying to get like an Instagram video uploaded, and my mother-in-law's internet connection is satellite, and I think she has something at the time. She had something ridiculous like a 50 gig data cap for the month. And it was just miserably slow, and it couldn't upload. And then we found out like I had burned like a gigabyte of data at the beginning of her month, and just like this is terrible. I felt awful. So I'm trying not to hit them at all like that, but it definitely throws into stark contrast when I complain about my 20 meg upload speeds. That like I'm still decently privileged in the United States.
If you think about a trip like this would probably make you appreciate a little bit more what you have, I guess, still working at home. And it is very challenging. And I mean, I know we have a lot of options, but with the reality of the matter is, regardless of where you are, there are some challenges to getting good internet and consistent internet. My biggest problem I had here in the office, I had regular home internet, but it sucked because it fluctuated too much. Like
Mhm.
seriously, like the ping times were just going astronomical and for no reason, and then suddenly it goes down to like under 30 for just again no reason. It wasn't until I went with business with my current carrier that suddenly things worked. And no, and not only that, I got rid of their router. Something was in their router
Yep.
configuring my connection. So when I circumvented that and I just had my own router with their modem, it seems to work
Truth.
better. So yeah, you got to work at it. You got to work at it hard. Now I know we're getting close to our almost like to an hour, but I did want to touch base on this mostly because there was obviously the big launch event today.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to see any of the comedy show that went up this morning?
No, not at
So
all. Let's
um,
chat it out. This is going to be
So,
great.
okay, so OnePlus announced the Nord 2, which I think a lot of us knew they
Hmm.
were coming. So they were teasing us all over the place. So the successor to the highly successful Nord that I think you and I both got last year, we got a chance to play with.
I never got the Nord. I got the N10.
Oh, okay. So I'll digress. There was the Nord, and I'll once. I mean, hopefully, when I get the Nord 2, if I'm able to get the Nord 2, we'll do a comparison between the two. Um, so this was basically what we were anticipating from them to release. I was hoping it was going to be international. It seems to be still focused towards the European market and
Yeah,
Indian market.
big time.
And I feel like, which I think, obviously to their point, make sure you sell it where you think it's going to sell. They did a couple of changes. They didn't stick with the Qualcomm chipset as they did last year. That was one of the biggest changes.
Hmm.
And they went with a special chip. It's actually a custom chip designed both between OnePlus and MediaTek. The 1200 AI they're calling basically. It's a Dimensity 1200. Um, Comparable, at least from what we're understanding right now, is like somewhere around the 870 performance. So this is
Hmm.
crazy jump from
Yeah.
765 5G to 865 870 performance. Overclocked 865.
Yeah, we
Um,
never really got a good handle on the Dimensity 1000 because the
no,
main phone we got to play with was a 1000C,
yeah.
and you could tell that LG was sort of throttling it down to
Mhm.
match the 765. I'm anxiously curious to see, like, MediaTek has been leapfrogging their own performance tiers, and I wonder, will we end up
That's right.
with a more consistent performer? Because again, the only thing I've used on the 70 is that Black Shark, and
So black, yeah,
it's
I only had one,
capable,
which was I think it was like the Poco.
but I feel like what Xiaomi and Black Shark did with a chip that's already second tier binned, like
Mhm.
the 865 Plus was a better binned 865, and the 870 is a better binned 865
865
Plus.
plus.
You don't have much headroom. So
Mhm.
once you really start hammering that chip, you only have down to go. Like, you
Yeah.
don't have any more up to go. So I'll be curious to see if, like, a completely different fab and reference cores and the way that MediaTek has been doing their designing their SoCs,
Mhm.
if maybe we'll end up with something that's a slightly more consistent performer.
I and
And
I'm
whatever
I'm
benchmarks, any phone can kind of nail a short Geekbench run. It doesn't tell you anything
no,
about how the phone's really going to perform.
absolutely, absolutely. Benchmarks are absolutely it's a use case that is in a certain circumstances. At best, it's an idea, but it's not a proof of how a device is
Yeah.
going to handle a daily activity because everybody's usage is different. That's the other problem. The other thing that I think a lot of us. When people ask for like, can you do a battery test and so on? Well, like, you know what? Understand that the battery test for
No.
me is not the same for you.
All right.
Uh,
It's like,
there,
that's adorable that you even entertain, like, answering
yeah,
the
no,
question, because I just go,
it, it,
no, I can't.
it's just
It's meaningless.
they
Battery
used to
testing
be.
makes me wake up in the middle of the night with cold sweat. Like, I'm serious. The philosophical problems of delivering any meaningful information in a battery test drives me insane. It's as close to madness as I can get trying to think
And
about
it
what
makes
I would try to do in a battery test.
there's realistically there is no true way to demonstrate it. An example would be again, Samsung deciding to push an update and I'm not the only one. Basically, where it knew for some reason or another, the system just doesn't hang. Like I seriously have to charge my phone at about 4 o'clock, and I'm like,
So
why am I
it
charging?
seems it seems all of the other phones that weren't owned by Atom, Tech Odyssey, because
Oh
he
yeah.
was the canary in the coal mine. Apparently, his Ultra was tanking on him after like 3 or 4 hours of screen on time, and it seems like Samsung just caught everyone else up to
They
his
just
battery life.
they wanted us to be able to have all the same experience at the same time. So, short answer, I'm not happy with it. But luckily, I'm not 100% on that phone.
Hey, you know what phone is still giving me generally 2 days of moderate use?
V60 baby. You know it. I gotta get you. You know what? I'm gonna make a shirt for you. This guy carries a V6, or this is a V60 guy right there. That's gonna be one of those shirts. We're gonna get. We need to make that happen, guys. I think this is
I
the V60
I
for the win.
feel no, but I mean like the OnePlus 9 Pro has been doing okay, but it's a 1 day phone. It really is
Yeah.
a 1 day phone. Even on this trip, I've turned down all of the eye candy.
Yeah.
1080p, 60 frames per second. I mean 60 hertz. I'm still charging it up at night. In the V60, I'm shooting, videos. I'm editing videos. I'm using it as my laptop because I'll plug in that Nextwear and I fold out my little Bluetooth keyboard and mouse because I forgot to pack the cable for my UPerfect dock. And it's tackling computer grade use, and it's giving me 2 days of runtime. I feel like 2021 is going to go down in the books as a lateral move for some spiky peak CPU performance, and then kind of a downgrade for everything else.
It for sure. Yeah. No. So for me, so I'll say this: I was excited to see that. I'm hopefully gonna be able to get my hands on one of them. I do. I will say this. I also did get the Reno 6 Pro 5G. That one's also running the 1100. It's not running the 1200. So it's. I was trying to figure out that do I have a device that runs the 1200? And I don't think I got anything with 12, but still. 1100 still very capable.
This is a good opportunity for MediaTek to step up and offer that mainstream consumer fare, because
we're seeing them in more companies, more the Asian manufacturers are starting to
so
dip
good.
into that. It's a very fresh look. Don't get me wrong, I've been following MediaTek for years. They've been slowly improving, and from the 700 to the 800 series, and then they went up to the 1000 series, the 11, and now the 1200. You definitely see that they're trying to push, and they're almost going at a double pace, right? That they're jumping. Their boost in the last year or so has been much bigger than what they've done in the past, and I think it's because they're still focusing on the Dimensity side. Not to say that the G9, I think was it the G90 or the G95, they're still producing those.
This is a good opportunity because I kind of feel like MediaTek is getting to benefit from the last 2 years of Qualcomm strategy. So from I still feel like 855 might end up being the high watermark for Qualcomm. That's where you still had the radio on the SoC.
Before they switched,
because then on the 865 they had to pull all the modem and everything off of it,
and then they undid that part. But yeah,
so all of my Wi-Fi and LTE performance on 855 phones was either neck and neck or better than 865 powered phones. Then we got the modem back on, but obviously the 888 following ARM's reference designs. I feel like Qualcomm. I feel like a number of these manufacturers looked at Performance Core and said, oh, well, as long as we can do a die shrink, that'll make up the power difference on this new GPU and this new X1 core. And it's too much. I think it was too much to do in one gen. For what they're claiming. If you really do use this hardware, I mean, again, I can show you audio mix down and batch processing and MP3s and photo rendering and stuff. Like the A88 really can deliver, but you only get your money's worth when you're driving it in heavier compute tasks. So all throughout all of this, it's given MediaTek a chance just to catch up to 855 tier performance. And I still have not seen a good argument to suggest that even moderately heavy use can't be accomplished on 855 tier power. I mean, especially when you look at all the phones being sold, the 765s that are really more like 845s. Yeah, so this is a great opportunity. I'm sorry, that was a really long-winded way to say MediaTek is getting time. They generally in years past have not had time to catch up to Qualcomm in a meaningful way.
Yeah.
they've gotten 2 years
Hmm.
of these SoC shenanigans to not only catch up but do some interesting things with price to performance.
Yeah, and I don't think for the most part that we don't really have a lot of reference yet. The 888 plus is primarily more than likely going to be exactly the same with an overclock, with some more
Well,
optimizations at
no,
least on
have you
AI.
have you seen? No, yeah, like the
No, no,
888 plus isn't
yeah, yeah.
even really going to come with much of a CPU GPU nudge.
Uh,
It's going to be an AI
yeah,
nudge.
sorry. I said the word overclock, and I should have explicitly kind of tailored it into the AI section. So
Yeah,
it's really more it's optimizing the
there's
performance.
nowhere to go.
There isn't,
You
but
you can't
I'm
optimize. You
hoping
can't better bin your way
out of a
out of
power
being a
hungry
current.
SoC. Um, but so
So,
the
so
thing
the
about
only
it
thing I
is,
would say. Oh, sorry.
yeah,
Let me just the last point,
please.
and I'll shut up here for a second. I think
No, no,
the
no, it's
only
okay.
thing MediaTek probably still needs to catch up on is image processing.
So I was
I
about
feel
to,
like they're probably still a good generation behind Qualcomm when you see what like comparable, like you looking at the Velvet.
yeah,
Um, I thought the MediaTek powered Velvet did a
mhm.
very good job of of
Speaking of which, yeah,
utilizing that camera hardware.
hmm,
The Qualcomm Velvet, I feel, was a better overall camera performer. They were close, but I feel like
yeah.
that
Still
image
no 4K
processing is
60 on this
still
one. Yeah, 1100 doesn't support 4K 60 yet, so there is some
there's
limitation.
still room
There's still some.
room to improve.
I'll say that it is. Yeah, there's.
When you can see how good 4K 60 looks on a Qualcomm Snapdragon 765, that is
Yeah.
definitely an area where MediaTek has
I,
can spruce up their SoC.
Yes, so that's partially what I wanted to kind of like when they were going through the announcement this morning on the SO on the camera. They did make sure to announce that it was the highest front facing camera megapixel, the highest megapixel front facing camera on a Nord. And but they didn't say anything but the Nord last year had 4K on the front facing camera. The only
Yeah,
OnePlus device that didn't come to the US that had 4K on the front. So I'm really hoping that they were able to swing that with the 1200 AI that they're talking about. So
I
again,
mean, I think it's hilarious and ridiculously silly
the
that
2020
Xiaomi and OnePlus $1,000 phones, like the one that I'm on right here, still
1080,
max out 1080p on
and I
that
don't
front camera.
understand it. Why I do not understand
I don't get it.
the thought because because at first I was thinking, oh, well, maybe it's just a region thing. People in Asia that just don't necessarily care. Then I started realizing that there's so many optimizations done to the front facing camera software for them to do beauty mode optimization. I mean, they realize people use their front facing camera to
Hmm.
for social media and so on. And the reality is, I feel like that would have been my number one part to focus on,
Yeah.
but we have a few handful of the companies. An example would be obviously Samsung does it, but LG was doing it as well. And I want to say the Infinix, I forgot what it was, the Infinix Note 10 Pro
Yeah.
surprised me with giving me 4K on the front and on the
Yes.
back. Although 4K 30, which is again similar to what we
But
get here
still
with the, but it
4K.
was still a 4K. So I have high hopes as to what the 1200 AI does. They also announced, I think the OnePlus Buds Pro, the sequel to last
Yeah.
year's OnePlus Buds, with ANC. The design looks pretty decent. So the Nord was like 400 euros, and I think the Buds were from 150. No word on when the Buds are coming, but the Nord is up for pre-orders now. If you guys are
Yeah.
interested,
I'm really, I mean, so I'm very positive on the Nord just kind of looking over what they announced, but I'm
absolutely.
curious. The OnePlus Buds, another opportunity. I really feel like a lot of people slept on the neckband
Yes.
OnePlus Buds that were phenomenal. They were really good Bluetooth earbuds, and I'm
My
hoping that
wife
this is
swears by them. She uses them every day for her
they're
walks.
great.
The best, the
And,
best.
and they're really fun techie, like the
Hmm.
magnetic clasp, and it answers the call.
Hmm.
I'm back on my TCLs
Hmm.
just to do this, and
Yes,
you
600s.
know solid $100 options in that $100 ballpark with ANC and good Google Assistant support. And
Yep.
I feel like we're making some headway here for competition on true wireless. So
Um,
OnePlus, I don't think ever got enough credit for what they were able to accomplish with
mhm.
wireless audio. And I hope this is another step where they get fair comparisons and not just, well, I mean, they're trying to be like AirPods. And you're like, they've
What
been in this game for a while. Don't
exactly
act like this is them trying to copy. Like they actually helped pave the way for some of the Android based
devices?
solutions. Like they were the first ones that I knew of that had that really slick, like you unclasp them and your phone would show an instant pairing.
Yeah.
Like we all took for granted on AirPods. OP was ahead of the curve on stuff like that. So I
Yep.
really hope that I really hope OnePlus has accomplished something interesting with these, but that they also get a fair shot when people take them for test drives.
Yep. The last thing I want to mention, I know we're kind of reaching that limit, is the Nord 2 was also one of the first collaboration between OnePlus and Oppo on the software design for this
Mhm.
device. So the Android the OnePlus Oxygen OS build is the first released out of that joint collaboration between the two.
Mhm.
And from what I've seen, at least on Adam's video over on XDA, is it seems to be some presence of Color OS starting to pop up inside of Oxygen OS.
It took them
Um,
long enough.
I was like, yeah, we knew it was coming. The moment they said it's the same team working on both, come on,
Mhm.
what team wants to have two separate projects running independent from each other, entirely separate libraries and building everything obviously they're going to share libraries. There's no question there.
Yeah.
Plus, so the short answer is kudos to OnePlus for the new announcement. I still need to put out a video on the N200 5G that I got as well, and that I'm working on.
Yeah.
And then after that, I'm gonna be pushing out the Reno 6 the Reno 6 Pro, the Reno 6 Pro 5G. We got to come up with acronyms. I don't know how to do it. These names. No, I'm just kidding. Oppo's Reno 6, I think it's been very surprising. The Reno line has been really good, and they've been using MediaTek for a couple of generations now, so it's
Yeah.
definitely working for them. But with that being said, I am not going to take too much more of your time, sir. I do realize it is late, and we'll next week. Hopefully, if you're back in the studio next week, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah,
We're now reversing our trip through the Southwest, so we should be back in the Gadget Lab in a couple days.
Cool.
And then I'm back in, and I'll be catching up. I really did have bigger plans. I don't know if Jeff, if El Jefe is still listening, but I've got a round robin of DACs and players that I need to get through. The THX
I got a deck.
Onyx, the
I got a
Apogee
deck.
Groove.
Like,
What did you grab?
I did. I got a helm. I got a helm.
Oh, that's right. You were telling me you got that helm. That helm DAC is great.
Yeah. Okay, if I can. Oh, here it is. Hold on.
So I'm gonna round robin. I'm gonna round robin with the Theo, the Q3. Oh, that's beautiful.
That
excellent.
I'm using it right now. I'm using it right now on my PC. So I connected it over USB. So yes, short answer.
So
yeah, there's a few.
So I believe that's using the same internal hardware as that weird iPhone DAC amp.
Oh,
that I was using. That helm surprised me a lot with that for the iPhone.
So for this one to work on the iPhone, you just need to have a USB A to Lightning adapter, and it works supposedly perfectly. I've been just using it with obviously Android, and I was very happy that it worked also on Samsung with their own proprietary shenanigans that they do. The only
Isn't
thing
that sad? We actually have to preface that now. Like it may or may not work on Samsung.
The Q3 didn't work. Like it just will not work. Like Samsung does not want to recognize it. It's like, baby.
That's a good point. I really should. With the Apogee and the Onyx, the THX that I've got, I really do need to try and hook those up to a Samsung.
To your S10, the S10e. So I think it's one of those things you have to kind of keep in mind when you're thinking audio accessories. But thank you also for the link to the library for the FLAC files, the high
for sure.
files. So this is it's just such a good thing. It just improves everything you're listening to.
Yeah, that's good.
So very, very exciting, and definitely. So hopefully next week we'll be able to do a full regular show, but it is a little bit late for the family and so on, and we don't want to stress Juan's voice too much, because otherwise we won't have any more live streams with him and no more shows. That'll
blow it out again.
He's like, yeah, sorry, I can't talk anymore. It's going to be like
next Monday's show is just going to be interpretive dance.
Peace. Sign me up. Set the reminder, guys. So El Jefe is in there as well, still there. So he's still in the chat as well. But with that being said, thanks to everybody, obviously, for hanging out with us. Michael Peppertech, El Jefe, Jeff, David Burns, Ranesh, of course, as well. Aditya, as always. Michael Corrigan, Corcoran. I don't know why I want to call it the other way around. David Burns as well, and everybody else with us. We'll see you guys next week. We're glad that the show is back. Thank you for hanging out with us, Juan, on the road with the fam.
I know this was stuttery and kind of a little glitchy on my side, but I'm glad it hung in there.
You know what?
I've been dying to chat with you about some of this stuff.
The audio podcast will not even know it. Let's just say that on the audio side. Yeah, for sure. And then we'll be back next week for another best of our week, and hopefully make sure to catch Juan on Monday with the SGGQA show. Hopefully myself as well on Saturday with the Saturday morning with Tech show. But take care, be safe, have a good night, stay safe, and we'll see you next week on the best of our week. Take care, everybody.
Take care, all. Bam.